What's up, and welcome to the Weekenders. This is the show where we talk about the best football games of the weekend, and we've got some good games to talk about this weekend. But I do want to quickly recap a really big and great game that happened last week in college football that our very own Bobby was in attendance for. Uh, Red River rivalry. You were there at the Cotton Bowl. Big, a lot of stakes. Um, Big game because Texas and Oklahoma were both ranked, high top 15 teams. Went down to the wire. Uh, I was traveling, so I got bits and pieces of it. I did see the end, but you were there for the whole game. So tell us what it was like to kind of be there and experience that. I know have been there for a lot of editions of this game, but what was it like this past Saturday to be there and see the Sooners come out with that win?
Yeah, no, Max. That was honestly one of the greatest OU Texas games I've ever seen. The Red River rivalry has had so many great games in its history and recent history, especially. But there's something about this one that was just a little bit different from the jump. Um, it was a very back and forth game. I feel like both teams played really, really well. Both teams came in with expectation. It wasn't like I mean, Texas was obviously favored, but it wasn't like an overwhelming, upset on OU's end. Um, Atmosphere was, just as good as it gets. And I really want to express that to people who haven't been to an OU Texas or don't really know what the Red River rivalry is all about. It is genuinely like a can't miss sports experience across the board. Having both sides of the stadium filled out, one in Texas, one in OU, split down the middle. It's an experience, and um, just the experience was a different level for sure. But the game itself was awesome. Oklahoma, look, I had questions myself, and I'm a Sooners fan. I'm a Sooners podcaster. I do a lot of work with OU, and in terms of understanding them, I didn't see that particularly happening on Saturday, even though I did kind of try to reverse jinx on our lock of the week.
Yeah,
That was
yeah,
impressive. Defensively, OU is just night and day from where they were last year. Offensively, they pack a punch. Dylan Gabriel stepped up big time in terms of delivering that just excellent final drive. Um, Overall, just you can't say enough good things about how that OU team performed. Um, just such a great game. Incredible, incredible stuff to say the least. One of the best college football games this season by far.
yeah. I think the great part about it is again the teams are both good. Last year was a big letdown because it was the 49-0 Texas game. And this game it was like, all right, cool, we finally might get a good result. And I mean that game delivered. Everyone kind of knows by now. Like it was just uh, a like you mentioned, a great atmosphere, but also just uh, what a good result for college football. I will say that what I do like about it, um, and I feel like we may see this with the game, the Michigan Ohio State later on. This kind of might be a talking point, but what I kind of, as a fan of like the college football, the sport, and not just like OU or Texas fan, like I'm kind of neutral in that aspect. Um, I kind of like how like that game uh, doesn't necessarily like end it right. Like it doesn't knock one or the other out of the race to go to the Big 12 championship. Like we get to see if both teams take care of business to the rest of the year, which just looking on paper it looks like they can. Then we get a rematch, possibly in the Big 12 championship, and so that's really exciting. So I'm excited about that. I mean, these games are fun. The rivalry games are cool, but it's nice when you can still look forward to maybe another opportunity where the stakes are even higher down the road. Like I
Yeah,
said,
and
I
it
think,
definitely,
yeah, yeah,
yeah, no, I mean the talk around this game in the interim has been, yeah, this thing's going. We're going to see this game in Arlington. The amount of time after that game talking to Texas fans and talking to other OU fans, it's like that was incredible. Doesn't take away that we have another meeting because you get the golden hat. All of that still matters. Um, but yeah, it feels like there's a sequel coming, Max.
absolutely. Um, let's get to the games of this week because we do have some good ones on deck for both college and the NFL. The first one we're going to talk about is the one that I think is going to kind of make a lot of a difference in a division that has a lot of good teams, and I mean, excuse me, a conference that has a lot of good teams, and that's the Pac-12. The Pac-12, um, has kind of been the star, the belle of the ball for the college football this year. Um, which it's been repeated over and over and over again. Such a weird year for the Pac-12 to be so great when this is the last year that they'll exist, but I digress. This is what it is. And now we have two of what people I think consider the best teams in the conference in Washington and Oregon, especially because of what we've seen out of USC as of late. This feels like these two teams are a little bit more balanced on both sides. But this is going to be an interesting game. Oregon will go to Washington. This game will be played in Seattle. Um, we've seen Michael Penix Jr. put up cartoonish numbers so far with those receivers and that offense, but we've also seen Oregon, um, do very well offensively and on defense. So that kind of leads me to the first question. Washington's favored by 3 in this game, over under 67. But who has the edge? Is it Oregon's defense or Washington's offense?
Yeah, I feel like this one's really hard to answer because I feel like overall Oregon, you know, they've had a bit of a weird start to the season, in the sense that they've like looked pretty dominant against teams, but I don't know how much they've been tested really. Colorado, I think, that game you could tell the Buffs just were. I don't know what was going on with them, but they were not the challenge that we thought. Really, the only tough kind of struggle they got was a Texas Tech game in Lubbock, which even though they won, 38-30, it was actually way closer than that. So to me, I don't really know. I'm not quite sold on the Ducks fully yet. Um, so I'm going to trend towards Washington at home. Michael Penix has had things rolling. So I'm siding with the Huskies offense right now, but we'll see how it goes. I feel like Dan Lanning and that defense is pretty solid, pretty legit, but this feels like a real proper test because I mean, look, the last offense they struggled against was Texas Tech, who has not exactly been uh, lighting it up in the Big 12. So
Yeah, and trying to pull up the some of the advanced stats as well. But I mean, just looking at like the overall like stats, right? Like Oregon so far is only allowing a shade under 12 points a game. It's like fifth in the country. They're sixth in yards allowed. Um, they're 13th in turnover differential, so they've been able to create turnovers. They've been really, really solid on defense. I mean, those are really good numbers for them. And I mean, I think that for me, like the one thing that's good about having a good defense in college football is that it's better at home, but it usually travels. And the thing that Oregon doesn't really have to worry about is they have a pretty good offense too. So, I mean, this is a team that's really balanced. I think the thing that Oregon's defense is going to have to do is try to make Washington and Michael Penix Jr. uncomfortable because you're going to their house. You're playing in a game that is um, going to be um, in a tough environment, in a hostile environment is what I'm trying to say. So, yeah, I think um, the Ducks' job is just going to be to make sure that Washington is off rhythm, but also they're going to also have to keep the ball away from Washington and keep Michael Penix Jr. on the bench, which is what I believe Arizona a couple weeks ago did a pretty good job with like time of possession, and that's kind of why that game was close. So Oregon sort of has a little bit of a blueprint there to make them uncomfortable. But I mean, this is a really a hard question to answer. It's really like I mean, both of these teams, I mean, can score, uh, but Oregon's defense this is going to be a big test for them, and if they want to obviously, get anywhere this year, they're gonna have to continue to play solid defense against a really one of the best offenses in the country, not just the Pac-12.
Yeah, I think the venue totally would switch this. If this was at Autzen Stadium, I would be siding with the Oregon defense all the way. But in the friendly
Yeah,
confines of Husky Stadium, I don't know. I'm trending towards Washington Zoe.
yeah, yeah. It's just so easier at home when everything's comfortable. So yeah, this is going to be a huge game. It should be really fun to watch too. Um, so for one game, because there's history is definitely probably. I mean, both of these guys have been playing for a few years now, but we have a lot of tape on both of them. But we're not going to say like we're not going to put any historical context into this. We're just going to say for one game, would you rather take Bo Nix or Michael Penix Jr.?
That's a really tough one. I feel like they're kind of relatively evenly matched, but I think Penix Jr. has just been on a different level this year. I think he is just, I don't know, more consistent. Just been putting up just completely silly, like road to glory NCAA 14 numbers. Um, and I, don't get me wrong, I think Nix is pretty good. I think he's gotten a lot better since he's been out at Oregon. But I'm trending. I like Penix here.
Yeah, I like Michael Penix too. I mean, he's just a like his arm strength, accuracy, um, the way he approaches the game. I think Bo Nix is just one of those guys that can is a lot of people like because he's a baller and he sort of like wills his team to win a lot of times. But um, if finding a guy that I can like rely on for 4 quarters, that's gonna just you know make my offense hum. Like I think I'm taking Michael Penix Jr. as well, just for one game. Um, and you know what's funny? Like Washington, especially this year, like they've been in so many blowouts that like we haven't really got to see Michael Penix in the clutch. So I'm hoping like we get a chance, whether it's this game or a game in the future, like we get a chance to see like what he's like in close situations because um, that's something that we just don't know because Washington's been blowing everybody out this year. Uh, but yeah. All right. So yeah, it should be a good game. Um, I am taking Oregon to win. I think their defense is going to show up. I think Washington, again with the Arizona game, unfortunately showed Oregon kind of like what to do to slow them down. I think because of not just Oregon's defense, but again their ability to put up points. I just like that balance a little bit better going to a road environment. It's not a night game. It's middle of the afternoon, so a lot of times like you can create a hostile environment, but in the middle of the day, sometimes that doesn't always translate that as well as you would think. So, and it's a close trip as well. One state over, so I like the Ducks to win this game.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Washington. I think these teams are incredibly evenly matched. I'm so excited to watch this because I'm struggling to pick on it, but I'm going to trend towards the home team. I think a lot of people sleep on Husky Stadium as one of the great environments in college football. That place gets loud. It's constructed to be loud. If you look at like the big overhang they have, noise bounces off of it. They have that awesome lake behind it with all the people tailgating. Obviously, that doesn't matter in the grand scheme of the game because you have to go out, execute all of that. I think I just like Penix a little bit better than I like Bo Nix. I think Washington's defense is more than capable of forcing Oregon into mistakes. We've seen this Oregon team kind of look iffy in its only real road game. Stanford doesn't count; nobody goes there. Uh, so yeah, I'm trending. I'm going Washington here. Yeah, I think the home game advantage just peaks this in their favor. But again, it's a toss up. Who knows?
Right. Yeah, it really is a toss up. I mean, Washington's only favored by 3. Like, it's a field goal. Like, I think this is could go either way, honestly.
I feel like
Um,
Pac-12 teams too. Like if you're at home, that changes a lot. We've seen a lot of teams this year potentially like be like, oh, Utah's definitely probably better than Oregon State, and then they go into Corvallis and they look awful. Same with like UCLA. Then it's like, they look a little bit better than Utah, and then they go into Salt Lake City and they look awful. I don't know what it is. I think it contributes to the Pac-12 continuously cannibalizing itself, but home teams just always seem to have the advantage in these games. I don't know why it just. I don't think performances travel as well in this conference.
yeah. Yeah. No. I think I agree with you too. And we're gonna kind of like dive into that. I As the year goes on and we see more of these matchups go on, like the between the top teams in the Pac-12, and we'll have kind of a bigger sample size as the year goes on. But this is sort of like the game that I think like this is the start of it, which is
Right.
another reason why it's such an exciting game. All right, next one that we're going to talk about involves another Pac-12 team that almost lost to Arizona State. Uh, I mean, no, it was
Arizona,
Arizona,
normal. Both of well, actually,
but
both
they
of them
did.
technically. Yeah,
Yeah, they
both
did.
Arizonas.
Yes, Arizona, USC did almost lose to both Arizona teams, but the Arizona was the closer, almost upset than Arizona State. But okay, USC is going to South Bend to play Notre Dame. Notre Dame is favored by 2.5, over under 62.5. I'm shocked that Notre Dame is favored because Notre Dame has to be Notre Dame. I think I had them in the. I'm pretty sure I had them in the college football playoff, and they have fumbled the bag like no other team I've seen this year. Uh, but I want to ask you, Bobby, are the Fighting Irish the biggest bag fumblers of the season?
Well, no, I don't think we can call them that when Mario Cristobal and the Miami Hurricane exist. And I'm not. I don't want to divert attention away from Notre Dame looking a little bit rough in big games, but let's be real. Your guy Mario Cristobal, instead of taking a knee, winning the game, decided to run it, fumbled it, and allowed Georgia Tech to make a miracle drive. A game that was done and dusted, won. That is quite literally a bag fumble.
I clapped when I saw that because I was like, okay, Miami will never recover from that. Their season's done. They're mentally like cooked, and they're gonna come into Chapel Hill, who just blew the doors out off Syracuse and get smoked. So, like, yeah, Miami is a good answer. I think Miami, was trending up. The fact that they only could score 20 points against Georgia Tech is also suspicious, but because their
Yeah,
offense was, I mean, phenomenal up until that point. But uh, yeah, I couldn't have been happier with that result. to
Oh,
be
for sure,
honest.
for sure. I think it's time to start selling off some Miami stock if people out there have it, because I don't know. I just don't believe in them. Anyways,
Yeah,
um, but
yeah.
yeah, Notre Dame, man. I didn't see that happening at Louisville. They kind of got given extra life in that Duke game, with that crazy ending, and then a massive dud at Louisville. So I don't know. I don't know. I expected a little bit more out of them, but geez, yeah, not great. But here's the thing: finally back home in South Bend, so I could see a bounce back here.
I I think so. The question of them being the biggest bag fumblers, I think the way they lost to Ohio State is inexcusable. I think it's almost. I think you can put it on the level of the Miami one, but like the Miami situation was dumber and the opponent was a lot worse. And you were about to, go into a undefeated matchup with, a ACC opponent that could, if you win that game, your season, looks a lot brighter. But now, I think Miami's got some more tough opponents. They're going to be, they're done. Um, but yeah, Notre Dame should have beaten Ohio State, and ideally, Louisville's a good team. Louisville, I've said it the entire year could be in the ACC championship. Like that's a good team. But I think like uh, you feel for Notre Dame because it's like, well, even if you say 9 times out of 10 Louisville wins that game, well, it stings more because you should have had the Ohio State game. So, yeah, I know Notre Dame is really right now, and it's if you're a USC fan, like you're nervous because you're gonna have to go on the road to this tough environment in Notre Dame, but you're having to face a team that is a little bit in desperation mode because they just lost. Um, and you haven't looked so good lately either. So this could be a really tough game. But I think I feel for Notre Dame fans, man. You've had a tough year. This is supposed to be maybe a bounce back with Sam Hartman at the helm. A guy that has the experience to really take you a little bit further. And now you're a 2-loss team in the middle of October. And you're about to face the Trojans. Like that's a tough way to go. Um,
Yeah, Hartman was pretty poor against Louisville too, with the three picks.
yeah. Um, so, oh, sorry. I don't know why I like had the like deep thought. I know the next question. I just like what am I thinking about? Okay, sorry. All right. USC. Let's talk about them for a second. Uh, their defense does not look any better. It looks like it's regressed. A lot has been made about this Alex Grinch, Lincoln Riley relationship, and now the expression is what you dug your hole or you dug your ditch, and now you have to live in it. I don't know what it is, but but yeah, I mean USC has to try out the defense now, and you're gonna again go to play a Notre Dame team that they got a good quarterback still. They still have some pride. Like, whether they win this game or not, like, is there any hope at all for the Trojans defense moving forward?
I mean, not this year. Look, we've seen it happen before where Lincoln Riley has kept a coordinator on too long, fires in midseason, doesn't change anything. That happened in 2018 when he fired Mike Stoops, uh, and then brought on, I think it was Ruffin McNeil, and they were still atrocious. I believe Puka Williams for Kansas had like 300 yards on OU. It was awful. Um, no, it's done. It's this year they're going to waste Caleb Williams, which is a bummer. But I mean, that's just kind of what you get when you do a Grinch defense. The speed D has just frankly it's not applicable when you are at a major college football program. It works when you're at Washington State It works when you're at these like kind of smaller, scrappier teams when you kind of have to recruit small. And that's what you have, and you make the best of it. But it does not work at this level. It just frankly doesn't. Um, and it was proven out over several years at OU. It's now proven in its second year at USC. This isn't a personnel thing. This is a philosophy thing. This is a coaching thing. This is something that took OU a lot of time to recover from because we were trying to unteach it. Brent Venables had to completely teach these guys how to play defense because Grinch just puts you in a hole. And look, I think you have to get rid of him at the end of the season for sure. And yeah, I mean, bring in, look, Dave Aranda might be available at the end of this year. Let's be honest. His Baylor teams have been atrocious. If you bring in an Aranda, maybe you can make it make sense. USC is still an attractive place to go to. With the Big Ten move and everything, like there are ways to recover. But let's be honest, it'll take some time. And I don't know if Lincoln Riley has the patience to do that because let's be real, Brendan Staley's pretty horrible. He won't even have to leave his Malibu house to switch over to the Chargers. One thing we know about Lincoln Riley, not exactly the most loyal guy when it comes to moving jobs. I mean, when it comes to personnel, it's fine. But yeah, no, I just think if you're USC, you have to be incredibly concerned, incredibly disheartened, because Caleb Williams is a magic man. He will save you from so many situations, just like he did last Saturday. But at some point, a more complete team is going to go and straight up beat you. And he can't weasel you way out, weasel out of every situation. It just can't work at some point. And I think this Saturday is when they finally hit that first brick wall, because that Notre Dame offense is just good. It's going to be too good for USC to stop, frankly.
The interesting you kind of throw out the Lincoln Riley to the Chargers thing out there. Like, I would love to see Justin Herbert have a coach like Lincoln Riley. Um, like I think he deserves that. I think the Chargers just deserve to have a good head coach. Like, can we at least get like Ron Rivera like level like you know what I'm saying? Like, I'd like at least like a middle of the road head coach for the Chargers. But no, I mean, it would be tough for me to see Lincoln, or not tough for me, but like I have a hard time seeing Lincoln going from like the most popular football team in LA to like the least popular football team in LA. So that would be a big jump, even though it's the NFL. Um, but yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. I don't think the defense at USC gets better this year either. I think they're gonna run into some losses that they can't recover from, and this might be the week that it starts because that defense isn't what they needed to be. But with that being
Well,
said, go ahead.
I just wanted to say, I know I went on a big rant earlier. I just want to
Sure,
say,
yeah.
after this, it doesn't get easier. You have
No,
at Notre Dame, Utah at home. Okay, we can ignore at Cal, but Cal has improved a little bit. Washington in USC in the Coliseum, at Oregon, UCLA. That is awful. If you're struggling with Arizona, Colorado, Arizona State, and can't put them away, how are you expected to run the table in this back half? It's just, yeah, they're done.
yeah, yeah. They're facing tougher teams. It's gonna be a hard way to go out, and then plus the Pac-12 championship if you get there, like it's gonna be tough. But with that said, I have USC winning this game because I just think like USC. I totally understand Notre Dame's offense being able to manipulate what USC does on defense, which is not nothing really. Like I get that. Like I understand that. But you have to consider what USC is capable of on offense themselves. And then for me, I'm looking at it as if this is a close game, I trust Caleb Williams and the USC offense more than I trust um, Notre Dame. And I just think Notre Dame, like, where are they mentally now? Because now again, it's like middle of October or second week of October, and like you're not a playoff team. Like you already got two losses. Like, granted, like Ohio State, and Louisville are good teams, but like, what are you playing for now? You don't have a conference championship to play for. You don't have a country football playoff to play for. So now it's like you're playing for pride at this point. And that might be enough to beat USC, but I don't know. I just feel like that loss maybe was too hard to come back from for Notre Dame, and I think USC is gonna come in fighting. They know they didn't play well last week. Offensively, they're still really good. Caleb Williams can pull a rabbit out of the hat, and yeah, does the defense falter at some point in the season? They definitely could, but I don't think they do so here.
Yeah, I got Notre Dame on this one. I just think that their defense is good enough to slow down Caleb Williams at home in South Bend. Um, Hartman, look, bad performance last week, but I don't think he'll throw three picks this week against a really porous USC defense. Um, and you're right, they are just playing for pride at this point. But when it comes to a rivalry game like this, I could see him stepping up and really trying to turn in a really good performance to try to turn this thing around. Um, we saw Notre Dame last year lose in embarrassing fashion to Marshall, and they found a way to turn it around a little bit. So I don't know. I think Marcus Freeman's the type of guy to really rally these guys up, get them up for one big game for sure, and try to turn this thing around a little bit.
Yeah, they're gonna have to hope that's what happens, because if not, it's gonna be a long rest of the year for Notre Dame, because they still got some more tough games to play after this too. Um, all right, yeah, so we'll see what happens there. Um, Again, Notre Dame's favored by 2.5. 62.5 is the over under. Um, and we'll see. That should be a good game. Saturday night, 7:30. I'm pretty sure on NBC. Um, Definitely one of the biggest games of the weekend. Um, okay, moving on to the NFL. Not the best slate this week, so this was a little tough. We're once again talking about the Lions without Lexi on the show, which always feels weird, but the Lions are good this year, so they're going to be in a lot of good games, and they're playing Bobby's Buccaneers with Baker Mayfield coming off a bye in Tampa Bay. Who's the biggest surprise to you this season, Bobby? Are the Lions? Is it the Lions or the Buccaneers?
I think it has to be the Buccaneers just because I don't think anybody, myself included, I love Baker Mayfield, saw this kind of rebound from him. Quarterback was obviously a big question mark. Uh, you're, if you asked us a couple of weeks ago, like, hey, is this team going to be good with either Kyle Trask or Baker Mayfield? We'd be a little bit not great. But Baker has done a serviceable job of running this offense. It's clicking. It's looking pretty good. A lot of those pieces are still kind of there from those, teams that made Super Bowl runs. So yeah, I would say the Bucks. The Lions, I think a lot of people were pretty high on. They ended the season, with a lot of momentum, carried it over pretty early. I I was maybe not all the way gung ho that some people on the podcast were about the Lions, but I still expected them to be improved and continue on this path. The Bucks, though, I even as an optimist, I did not see this coming.
Yeah, the answer is the Bucks for me too. I mean, I remember when we were doing like playoff predictions or whatever. I had the Lions in the Super Bowl, and you thought I was just being nice because like Lexi was on the pod, but I really did think that with the NFC like kind of questionable at the top, the Lions, based on kind of what they did last year, could take it a step further. They're a well-rounded team. They've built their defense. They built their offense. They have a coach that seems to believe in them. So, like, I still think the Lions are good enough to. I mean, after what we've seen from the Cowboys and the Eagles, keep playing in these like close games. I think their game against the Rams last week was like the first one that was like more than a touchdown win. Like I have questions about the Eagles and the Cowboys, and so to me, like if you ask me the class of the NFC, it's the Niners and the Lions. So that's those Lions again, like you said, coming off momentum from last year, like that's no surprise to me. I thought they'd be a really good team, but the Buccaneers, um, just based on I kind of am a known Todd Bowles doubter, and not really being sure that the offense would click the way it has been. Like the Buccaneers have surprised me 100%, and I don't know if this is necessarily good for them to be a good team this year because you know you have to ask yourself if you're a Buccaneers fan, like, do you think Baker Mayfield can be your QB of the future, or would you rather, you know, push your chips in to try to get, a quarterback in this draft, and maybe kind of rebuild a little bit because they have a lot of good players, but their players are a little bit on the older end. So I think then it'll be interesting to see what happens with them this year. But the Buccaneers for sure are the surprise team, one of the surprise teams this year of the NFL, in my opinion. Um, all right, we know the Lions' offense is really good. They got a lot of weapons. Sam Laporta, shout out Sam Laporta on my fantasy team. The rookie tight end's playing well. The running game's doing great, even without Jameer Gibbs. They got receivers. Jared Goff's playing well. We know the offense is looking really good. But the Buccaneers' defense, um, they've been stout. They've allowed their eighth in the NFL in points allowed. They're first and turnover differential, which means they're getting those picks and fumbles and everything like that. So defensively, they're really solid. Top half of the league in yards allowed. So um, the Lions defense is pretty good too. But we're gonna focus on the Lions offense or the Buccaneers defense. Who has the edge?
I got to go with the Lions offense. Honestly, the Bucks D has been really good for sure. But
Yeah.
let's look at the teams that they've really been strong against. A Vikings team that isn't very good. The Bears, and
Yeah.
then the Saints. Their one game against a pretty capable offense, they weren't remarkable and ended up losing that game, and that was the Eagles. So to me, I feel like they've had moments, but they haven't given me that full body sample size that I want to see before giving them an edge against the Lions offense that has just been absolutely rolling, just cranking out points. So I'm going to go with the Lions in this one.
Yeah, I think the Lions offense has the edge. I think the Lions offense has the edge because of the Lions defense, and I'll explain that real quick. I think the Lions defense is going to be able to create more opportunities to get the Buccaneers offense off of the field, and which means more possessions for the Lions. And I think if the Lions can win the time of possession battle, they're going to coast and win this game, and the offense is going to do better. Now they are pretty banged up, so I don't know what the status will be of some of their players. Like Saint Amon Saint Brown didn't play last week, or I don't think Jameer Gibbs played, but I don't think it was injury
He
related.
didn't
I think he
play.
just didn't. Yeah, so
I
so
don't,
yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens with those guys, but if they're at full strength, I'm definitely gonna give the edge to the Lions offense.
I'm going to be honest though. I don't think at this point Dan Campbell knows that he has Jameer Gibbs, because he just keeps running David Montgomery instead. So
You
yeah,
know what's funny? I bet if you ask anyone like who would be like the standout Lions rookie, or just like the standout rookie in the NFL, like to a man, everyone would have said Jameer Gibbs or whatever, but like Sam Laporta is like might get some offensive rookie of the year buzz pretty soon if he was playing the way he's playing. Like I think it's wild how that worked out. But hey, welcome to the NFL.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
All right, so I got the Lions winning the game. Um, I think that they're rolling right now. The Buccaneers is going to be a tough environment to go play in. But like it's just what I said. I think the Lions kind of being balanced, um, and being able to play defense, get Baker off the field, create more possessions for their offense. I think they're going to be able to score more points. What I'm worried about though is the turnover battle. Like I mentioned to start out, the Buccaneers are number one in the NFL in turnover differential. Jared Goff is not exactly like uh, always like safe with the football. So I can see a situation where Jared Goff just like throws a lot of picks, and the Buccaneers just win the game that way. But I'm hoping that they take care of the ball, and I'm picking the Lions to win the game.
Right. So, look, everything in my mind seems to trend the Lions' direction, and I've been kind of trying to find a reason to pick the Bucks because I want to support the Bucks. The Lions have a better offense, I think. I think they have, like as we mentioned, have the edge on the Bucks defense. Baker Mayfield is coming off of a bye week that he just spent at OU Texas, his first time returning to that game since he played at OU. So who knows if he still has a hangover or not. But, but the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are bringing back the creamsicle jerseys, those wonderful light orange, with the white helmets. They haven't worn those in years, and they're finally bringing them back. And to me, I feel like that provides all the energy they need. So I'm going to pick the Bucks based on the return of creamsicle. I feel like they have a good performance, and this Lions team, like they haven't done anything Lionsy in a while. I think this is where we have a little bit of funk, kind of come into the
Oh, that's a good
season
point.
here.
Yeah, that's a good point. They haven't done anything Lions in a while. I think I'll steer clear of this game for long of the week
Oh yeah, no, for sure.
because of that. And another game. And speaking of games, also clear from long of the week. Cowboys at Chargers is the next game we're going to talk about. Chargers coming off the bye. The Cowboys licking their wounds from being embarrassed in Santa Clara or wherever the Niners are playing these days. The Cowboys will have to go 6 hours south to LA to face the Chargers. Um, they'll be familiar with the area because their training camp is in Southern California, which is I've always thought was weird, but whatever. The Cowboys are favored by 2 in this game. Over under is 50.5. You know my policy about teams that get embarrassed bouncing back the next week. I think Cowboys -2 um, is looking a little appetizing for me. But um, my question is, do you have any faith left in Dak Prescott
Oh my God,
after
of
what he
course
showed
not.
against the
Of course not. It's time.
Niners?
He's not the guy. What did he say in preseason? Oh, I'm not throwing 10 interceptions this year. Dude, you might double it, man. Like he has been very poor, not very good. And yeah, look, San Francisco is a really tough matchup that has
Yeah,
plagued them for years. Um, but he is just not the guy. He's just not the guy. Um, and that's fine. But he's not worthy of being the starting quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys of what they want to do. If they want to be this massive team that wins, like one, win a Super Bowl, get to a Super Bowl first. But if they want to be the team that all of these people think they are, every year they keep fooling these poor people into thinking that they're back or good. They got to get rid of Dak Prescott. They got to hit the reset, just like they hit the reset on Zeke Elliott. At some point, You have to say goodbye and move on. Dak Prescott, not that guy. But here's the thing: who's going to take that contract? Nobody. So
Yeah.
yeah, a little unfortunate. But I'm out on Dak.
Yeah, I think the Cowboys felt like they had to pay him. Um, and, it is what it is. At the time, a lot of people were, throwing the elite word out when it came to him. I never bought elite. I never saw elite with him, but now it's just getting sad. And you mentioned the contract, and you mentioned the Cowboys, and now I will say that it would be nice if they could, bring in more offensive talent. Um, CeeDee Lamb is a good number one, but they need some support around him. Tony Pollard's a good running back. They could use a really good tight end. Like I know they were wanting they I know that they were kicking themselves for not being able to get Dalton Kincaid in this past draft, but I think uh I don't know if they'll be able to get Brock Bowers at this by this point. They'll probably be too good to get Brock Bowers, but maybe they'll make some trades and move up or something. But yeah, I mean the Cowboys need like some more help around Dak if you're going to decide to keep him. They're going to need to figure out a way to put more talented to guys around him because he's like and people said it for years, like he's closer to Kirk Cousins than Patrick Mahomes, and that looks more evident by the week. So I'm happy. I'm not a Cowboys fan, but and I didn't have much faith in Dak anyway. But this is going to be another disappointing year for them in the playoffs if they don't make some changes. Um, all right, we'll do keys to victory for both teams. Um, I'll go with the Chargers. Brandon Staley just has to be like, don't get in the way. Like, I hate this coaching battle. By the way, like this is a mid off between Brandon Staley and Mike McCarthy, in a lot of ways. But like Brandon Staley, like just whatever you want to do, especially in like the late game situations, do the opposite thing. That's that's going to help. I think Justin Herbert's going to have to get the ball out quick. That pass rush is going to be fierce. I think that the Cowboys are going to be um, very like focused on trying to bounce back after last week. So I think that the Chargers are going to have to be tight on offense. Um, and don't let the Cowboys capitalize off the opportunities when they get the ball. The Chargers gonna have to create turnovers, and yeah, just hope that Justin Herbert, be yourself and hope that your coach doesn't get in the way, and know that the Cowboys are going to be playing hard because they just suffered that type of loss. Don't take them for granted. Like they're gonna this is gonna be a long. I think it's gonna be a game that goes four quarters in my opinion, and I think that for the Chargers to win, they're gonna have to be tight and play a lot better than they played over the last 4 weeks.
Okay, I'm with you, and I think similarly, my keys to the game for the Cowboys, in a way, avoid turnovers, avoid mistakes, play kind of conservatively, drive the ball down the field, and keep it close. Where just wait for Brennan Staley to screw it up, wait for him to you know for the Chargers to kind of completely implode because it's coming. We all know it's coming, but if you turn the ball over, get too much in a hole, then it's like that might be a little bit too much to come back from. So just being steady, being not don't try to play too outside of yourself. I guess I would say. I think the Cowboys can ease their way to victory if they just play steady, get it done, and work out.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I think, and I'll add to that too. I think the Cowboys, um, you know, Dak is going to have to play. I mean, the Chargers defense is bad. So, like, if Dak goes out there and throws a bunch of picks against this defense, then, like, God help him. Like, at least the Niners defense is like the best defense in the league. So you have sort of an excuse, but like, come on, like, just take care of the football. Um, run the ball, do what the Cowboys pretty much have to do to win anytime is, run 400 yards and limit, the pass attempts and, play good defense. Like, that's literally it. That's literally how the Cowboys have won every game in the last 6 years. But yeah. All right, I got the Cowboys winning this game. Um, I think they'll do everything I just said, and I think, like I said, the game is going to be a 4-quarter game. And if that's the case, guess who I don't trust at the end of a close game? Brandon Staley. So that's why the Cowboys are going to win this game.
Look, I'm gonna call myself out. Picking Brandon Staley to be the coach of the year in the in that conference, or sorry, division, might have been the dumbest thing I have ever said. And I am stunned that y'all still let me talk NFL after saying that. That is one of it aged like milk, man. Awful, awful take.
I honestly think, like, I won't blame you because I think going into this year, people could recognize that Brandon Staley was flawed. But I think even I was like, okay, like, let's see if this year he's learned from his mistakes. Let's see if he can grow as a head coach. But I mean, after what he's shown, like, these past few games, I'm like, there's no hope. This guy is not a head coach. He does not have the decision making acumen to, you know, coach a little league team, much less, a team in the NFL. So I it was a bad take, but I don't all the way blame you because I think people were still kind of like on the fence about how bad of a coach he actually is.
Yeah, yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. But you got the Cowboys winning this, right?
I got the Cowboys bouncing back on this one.
Yeah. Um all right, cool. So that's our big games of the weekend. Let's get to our rapid fire picks for some other good games this weekend. First one is Miami at UNC. This would have been one of our top 4 games for sure if Miami doesn't fumble the bag against Georgia Tech, which we just talked about. Now they have to go play UNC. UNC's looking a lot better. It seems like Drake May has figured out the Chip Lindsey offense, and the team's really balanced between running and passing. And Drake May has had one of his best games as a Tar Heel last week, and whooped up on a Syracuse team that was pretty good, but suffered a couple blowouts here lately. But still a pretty good team. But yeah, Miami comes into town. I think again after that loss, I just don't see how they recover mentally from that. Um, like, to bounce back after a week is going to be tough, especially having going on the road to face a Chapel Hill team that seems focused. They're playing, I think, um, great. Not sorry, I don't think that. I know they're playing great defense. Um, they're getting teams off the field. They're playing aggressive. Drake May again is figuring out this offense, and they're playing complementary football, both running and passing. Um, I mentioned this before, but I think it's very interesting that Georgia Tech was only able to hold Miami to 20 points. Like, that makes me that kind of makes me curious to see, like, okay, UNC, they have a blueprint to now go off of. So with all that said, I think the Tar Heels win the game, and um, now starts the tumble for the Hurricanes.
I'm right there with you. I think Miami just, I don't know, bad vibes all around. UNC, on the other hand, they have things just clicking, rolling. College football, weird stuff happens all the time, but it's not going to happen here. Give me the Tar Heels.
Yeah, and this one's a night game too. Should be a good one. To flip between this and the Trojans Notre Dame game. Um, All right, Texas A&M at Tennessee. Interesting SEC matchup. Not really one that uh, is ever really like talked about much, but um, two fairly good teams. Texas A&M at 4-2, Tennessee at 4-1. Um, Tennessee favored by a modest 3.5 points at home against the Aggies. I think I'm going to take A&M. I just think they have a better roster. Like not ideal uh, year. They've had some unfortunate things kind of happen. But yeah, I think defensively they're the better team. Offensively, they're about the same. I think Tennessee does some good things, but it's going to be a tough game to go on the road and win this game for the Aggies. But I like A&M.
Yeah. Look, brutal way to lose last week for A&M. They just
Yeah,
were not taking risks enough. Jimbo Fisher not going for it on 4th and 1 on their own like 50, something like that. Like that just I don't know. I'm pretty out on the Jimbo Fisher experience in A&M. I don't think it's working. Um, if, Tennessee has been just kind of okay this year, but at
yeah.
the same time, I'm riding with Rocky Top at Neyland Stadium. So give me Tennessee.
All right, another SEC matchup. Missouri had a tough loss against LSU. Although I don't know what we would have said about LSU if they lost to Missouri.
Oh,
Um, but speaking of tough losses, Kentucky gets blown out by Georgia, and Mark Stoops has to do the annual they bought their players rant that we hear from a coach every year about either Alabama or Ohio State or Georgia or you name it. So we got that sound clip this year from Mark Stoops from Kentucky, but yeah, I like Kentucky here. I think they're just again a little bit better. Missouri's a tough team. They gave LSU fits. I feel like Missouri. I wouldn't be surprised if they won the game, but I like Kentucky. I think they just have a little bit more talent, and I'll take the uh, the home team here, favored by uh, 2.5.
yeah, I'm gonna go with Kentucky as well. I'm not gonna judge them off of that Georgia game. I think the Bulldogs just kind of woke up finally and decided to
Yeah,
eviscerate a team. Kentucky just does not have the horses to run with it, and as Mark Stoops said very plainly and very clearly to his donors. Uh, Missouri's not bad. I think they're a solid team this year. I hate to admit, I thought they fought pretty hard with LSU there, um, but I think on the road they're just a bit of a different team. They haven't really had to. They've had what this is their first real road game. They played at Vanderbilt, but anybody who really knows that Vanderbilt's a home game. It's just an excuse for other SEC teams to get a Nashville trip for free. Well, not for free, but you know, for a fun home game in Nashville, essentially. I'm sure Missouri advanced travel to that. So yeah, this is their first actual road game. So yeah, I'm gonna go Kentucky at home.
all right. We got UCLA at Oregon State next. Top 20 matchup in the Pac-12. Um, Not the two sexiest teams in the conference, but two tough teams indeed. Um, Oregon State favored by 4 in Corvallis. Both teams one loss. Um, I like UCLA's quarterback better and their coach, but I got to take Oregon State here. It's tough to win in Corvallis. Um, Oregon can score. I mean, Oregon State, excuse me, can score. Um, they defend good enough. I think defensively, UCLA is a little bit better, but I just don't know if their offense can really travel up to Corvallis and win in a dogfight against the Beavers.
Yeah, no, it's Oregon State here. I'm going to tap the sign again, and remind people the rules. If it's at Oregon State, at Utah, at whoever, go with the home team. If they're on the road, go with the other home team. Because look, Oregon State is just different in Corvallis. If this was at the Rose Bowl, they'd find a way to lose, I'm sure. But I think the Beavers have the advantage here. They've been playing great this season at home, and honestly, for the past couple of years, they've only like lost. They've really lost one. I think one true home game, and it was USC last year. In the past like three some odd years, it's crazy what they have going on at Research Stadium. So
Yeah. Um, yeah, totally. I couldn't agree more. All right, going to the Big Ten. Um, the Big Ten, Iowa at Wisconsin, not ranked. Neither team ranked, but Iowa's 5-1 at Wisconsin 4-1. Wisconsin favored by 10. I think this is more. This game will be more interesting than the big noon kickoff game that was selected between Michigan and Indiana. But yeah, these two teams sort of, uh, good teams battling it out in Madison. Um, Definitely expect this to be low scoring, although Wisconsin is doing a little bit better in that area of offense. So I'll take the Badgers at home, not just because it's the home team, but just because um, offensively they're just I felt like they have more ways to beat you there than what Iowa does offensively. Even if this ends up being a low scoring game, I like Wisconsin just to edge them out a little bit. But um, I'm a little scared of that pick to be honest, because Iowa's 5-1 against the spread this year, so um, they've been killing it. I think if we were doing like covers or whatever, like I would say Iowa plus 10, but I think Wisconsin wins the game.
you know, I think there's a very good chance this game decides the Big Ten West. And to me, that defines everything that's wrong with the Big Ten. Um, that an entire division could be decided by these two just garbage, garbage teams. Iowa has become a meme, essentially, of trying to see whether or not their uh, offensive coordinator will keep his job if he can score a certain amount of points. And Wisconsin, I like the overall, Luke Fickle experience that they're going to try to implement, but you can't take Wisconsin, the definition of ground and pound, and turn them into an air raid in a season. It's going to take some time. Um, so I'm gonna trend go with the Badgers here. Uh, Iowa lost Cade McNamara for the season, I believe. So that's a bit of a dent. I I was fine enough, but on the road in a game like this, I'm trending. I'm going to go with the Badgers on this one. I think Tanner Mordecai can get it done.
Yeah. I'm just thankful as a UNC fan that we don't miss Philongo at all. like like I didn't think we would, but I'm just happy that we can finally get over that hump of whether or not we miss Philongo because um, yeah, UNC's offense is humming and it's more balanced, which is why we had to move on, which I think I appreciate. So okay, um, to the NFL, Ravens and Titans. Uh, Lamar struggled a bit against not Lamar. The Ravens receivers struggled a lot against the Steelers. A lot of drops. The Ravens offense kind of looking shaky so far. Titans, we know they play good defense. We know that they can score. Um, this game, I have a hard time seeing the Ravens go down two in a row, but their their receiving core is banged up. I think Odell's injured again. Not really uh, have a ton of confidence. Tennessee's a solid team. I think I'll take the Titans to win this game, but um, yeah, the Ravens are going to have to figure out how to either through trades or something get some more talent on that team because they are like they're literally going by how how far Lamar can take them right now because they don't have a lot of weapons on that offense.
Yeah, this is tricky because, I would kind of like the Ravens in a bounce back situation, but you do have that weird international series situation where both teams are going over to London. Um, I don't know if that really sets you up for a lot of success in that sense. Um, I don't know. I'm gonna go with the Titans. I don't know. I don't have a lot of strong feelings about this, frankly. Both teams looked not great last week. Tennessee, losing to the Colts, with not Anthony Richardson. Oh my gosh, the poor, the poor. This is what we are giving the London people. Really, this is what we decided to do. That makes me a little sad for them. They deserve better. Frankly, they won't understand what's going on. But um, anyway, so they'll just be happy to be there. But yeah, let's go with the Titans.
Yeah, that's a good note. I didn't realize this was a London game. So yeah, London game. So two teams that aren't necessarily familiar with London that much, but um, yeah, I think Titans are a good pick for me. Um, Colts. Speaking of those Colts, no Anthony Richardson, Gardner Minshew, and the Colts are going to face Gardner Minshew's old team, the Jaguars, who uh, played a good game. I think in the last episode we kind of all were on the same page about the Jaguars possibly beating the Bills and kind of being comfortable since they were over in London and they were they would have the advantage being there for an extra week, whereas the Bills were coming that week, and it showed in the game. The Jaguars played well, but um, now the Jaguars will host the Colts. Um, and the Colts seem to be still able to function without Anthony Richardson. I think Gardner Minshew is one of the most underrated backup quarterbacks, or a guy. And I think Gardner Minshew can start for a lot of teams, but he's a good backup quarterback. I think the offense should be fine with him in the fold there. But I'm picking the Jaguars. The Jaguars are better roster, better quarterback, better team. I think kind of flying under the radar. Got a good win over the Bills. I think they continue to roll.
Is this the first repeat we've had this season? Because they've actually already played this game opening weekend, so pretty quick turnaround.
Yeah,
Yeah, I look. The Jags won this one in Indianapolis to start the season. I think they'll get this one as well. I'm not super high on the Colts. Minshew, I could see a world where Minshew goes in guns a blazing and tries to stick it to his old team, but I'm going to ride with the Jags here. I think they've got things sorted out a little bit after a bit of a weird start before London. Went into London, great time, got some souvenirs on the way back. I think they're a better team. Uh, now because of that. So
yeah,
let's ride with the Jags.
yeah. Last but not least, we're talking about the Seahawks at Bengals. Bengals seem to be doing a little bit better, although playing the Cardinals will make you look like you're bouncing back a little bit, maybe. But yeah, the Bengals looks a little bit better um, against the Cards. They'll face the Seahawks, who I believe are coming off of a bye week. Yeah, so um, should be an interesting game. The Seahawks offense has been playing well. Um, the Bengals are favored by 3. Um, you're hoping that they can if you're a Bengals fan, you're hoping that they can continue the momentum from last week. But I think I'm taking the Seahawks here. I think the Bengals will have to show me that they're back um, all the way, like offensively, especially before I can trust them to win against a team like this. Um, so yeah, I'm taking Seattle.
I'm also going to take Seattle. The last time we saw the Seahawks, they were absolutely destroying Daniel Jones, just living in the backfield. They had just an insane amount of sacks. I'm not going to say the Legion of Boom is back. It's not. They're not
No,
that good. Not at all. but you're getting the vibes back a little bit. And because of that, I think Seattle has a solid performance against the Bengals team that still trying to get back on its feet. Looked great last week, but again, it's the Cardinals. Um, so yeah, let's go with the Seahawks here. Just that's my thoughts.
Yeah, no, we're on the same page. Um, all right. So those are our picks. Now let's get to lock of the week. So the scoreboard, everyone's points moved up by 2, except for Bobby's because he did a successful reverse jinx by locking the Texas Longhorns in. So congratulations, but got a lot of ground to make up. Lexi's on fire. She's at 8 points. I believe she's had 3 correct locks in a row. I think I've had 2 correct in a row, so I've got 6. And Bobby is at 2, so a lot of ground to make up there, but it's a long year. And yeah, so last week, Lexi got the Dolphins and Bills over. Wait, that's not right. She had the Texas. Ooh, sorry. I was like Dolphins Bills. That was 2 weeks ago. Lexi had Texas OU over. Um, got the dub on that. I had Cowboys Niners over. Thank you to the Niners for helping me out with that because the Cowboys did not hold up their end of the bargain, but
Not
the
at all.
Niners, the Niners pretty much almost had the over by themselves. So shout out to them. And then yeah, of course, Bobby uh, locked in the Texas Longhorns, and I'm sure he's happy that he lost that lock of the week.
It wasn't a bad pick, but you look,
It was
I
not.
did what I had to do, and I knew that if I picked OU, it would have lost. So
Yeah.
hardest choices require the strongest wills. So,
Yes. Yes.
anyways,
All right. All right. Line of the week this week. Lexi is on vacation in Chicago. We wish her safe travels. We wish her well. Her lock of the week is the over on USC and Notre Dame. That over under is 62.5. So we'll see what prevails, defense or offense in that game. That should be interesting. Um, I'm gonna put the number to 62.5 for that. Bobby, what is your lock?
I'm gonna go with Notre Dame minus 2.5 here. I feel like they have enough offense to really not only keep up with USC, but defensively they have enough to really jam the Trojans. Caleb Williams doesn't play quite at his best when he's on the road, and I think this will be an environment where, even though there's a lot to be down about, in South Bend, that doesn't mean Notre Dame isn't going to get up for a rivalry game that has just always been pretty big down there. So I think the Irish get a little bit something to cheer about and get the win and the cover. So Notre Dame minus 2.5.
I'm gonna take Oregon as my lock, just picking them straight up, no points or anything like that. I think that although Michael Penix Jr. is the better quarterback, I think Oregon has a more balanced team. I think the experience of the team and Bo Nix, I think they'll be okay traveling. I'm not worried about them. Washington is tough to play, but not like the most hostile environment in college football. So I think it'll be okay. I like Dan Lanning a little bit better as well. I think again, I'm taking a team that I think is more balanced on both sides of the ball. Washington, this is going to be their toughest challenge that they faced all year. We've seen Oregon get up for really big games. We saw what they did against Colorado. Granted, Washington is way better than Colorado, but like the way that Oregon approached that Colorado game said a lot about how they're coached and how they prepare. So I'm putting them in. I'm putting the Ducks in as my lock to win straight up against the Huskies.
You said I don't need those damn 3 points. No, no, no. I'm going straight up.
Yeah, I'm taking it straight up. I'm not messing around with points. Like,
You could have gotten an
I'm,
extra 3 points, but I respect it.
yeah,
I genuinely do love it.
yeah, for sure. All right, so we'll see what happens. We'll see if Bobby can bump up his score a little bit. And yeah, should be fun. But thanks everyone for tuning in. We hope you have another good week, and we'll see you next week to talk more football. Bobby, congrats again to your Sooners, and
Appreciate it. Another good show as always, Maxwell. And yeah, folks, Boomer Sooner.